Did you know? Despite the fact that Mega Man Legends sold very poorly, producer Keiji Inafune credits the game for his success in the industry. Inafune told attendees of GDC 2012, "I was very excited, very passionate, and very confident about this game. However, the Mega Man series was slightly on the decline, and perhaps the expectation levels were not as high as the previous games. Therefore, we weren't able to sell or promote the game as we expected, and failed to attract an audience." He went on to explain, after the enormous popularity of Resident Evil 2, he might have become intoxicated by his own success and stopped trying as a result, but the commercial failure of Legends grounded him and allowed him to see the importance of rising to the challenge and fighting back.
Legends had a small budget and released earlier than expected. As a result, some ideas had to be scaled back or removed entirely. During the planning stages, the developers intended to include another synthetic life form similar to Mega Man and Juno. Design documents refer to him as Evil Rockman, or by extension Evil Mega Man, and he would have been an enemy not only of Mega Man but also of the Bonds. This early character relation chart also suggests Evil Rockman would have misled Mega Man into believing he was an ally. The developers also planned on including a human rival for Mega Man named Artillery. The official Japanese website had a comment about the character from programmer Katsunori Oida. Back in one of the early scenarios, Rockman was going to have a romantic rival competing for Roll's affection. Dare we say she would have even been charmed by him. Bring Tron into the picture and you'd have an amusing four-sided love triangle. Artillery still appears in the game as a recurring townie with a gun holster, but his role was reduced to that of a background character. Mega Man and his allies were also going to have a fifth crew member aboard the Flutter. She would have been an assistant to Professor Barrel as well as the ship's resident nurse. Early concept art depicts the nurse with a giant syringe for an arm, but later designs took on a more traditional human form. Like Artillery, the character still appears in the final game as a generic NPC.
There is more concept art that reveals an entire unseen world beyond Cadillac's Island, including advanced cities atop enormous cogs. Another illustration depicts a city submerged under the ocean, suggesting the story could have delved below the surface of the flooded world. Another piece of art shows what appears to be a home for the Casket family. Cadillac's Island also looked very different in early designs. The Apple market was more narrow, but it appeared to go on for longer. The market went through more changes during development, as seen in an early demo of the game that was distributed exclusively in Japan. The stores are on opposite sides, and there are a series of alleyways that are open to the sky. The music store is different, and many of the townspeople have different faces. Mega Man is also shorter in the demo, which is likely due to the character originally being around the age of 10 rather than 14. This early version also has data suggesting some story segments might have been planned to take place at night. Unused graphics left in the demo's game data includes nighttime textures for all of the buildings and objects. The final Japanese name for the game, Rockman DASH, is actually an acronym standing for Dig Outer's Adventure Stories and the Halcyon Days. Dig Outer is the Japanese name for the digger job in the English version, and Halcyon Days refers to a term from Greek mythology. It describes a period of peace that takes place at specific times in the calendar, when storms never occur and the winds and waves are calm. The name Dash was also chosen to commemorate the Mega Man series' 10th anniversary, to symbolize the fact that Mega Man was boldly moving into a new generation of 3D polygonal graphics. A few of the locations in Mega Man Legends were named after developers of the game. The Cardon Forest, or Kadan no Mori in Japanese, was named after Kazunori Kadoi, the game's engine designer and 3D model animator. The Closer Woods, or Kurozo no Mori, gets its name from scenario and event planner Shin Kurosawa. Lake Jin, or Junko, is based on head programmer Masaru Ijuin. And finally, Masahiro Yasuma was the inspiration for the Yas Plains, or Yasu no Sugen in Japanese. At one point in the game, Mega Man is able to tell the shop owner his name is Hippopotamus as a gag. This was added in by planner Shin Kurosawa, and it actually has a hidden meaning. Kurosawa explained on the Capcom dev vlog, "The joke is that the Japanese word for hippopotamus is kaba, which is baka when spelled backwards. Baka in Japanese means something along the lines of idiot."
When Rockman DASH was localized for North America, some of the game's content was censored or removed. The comic book from one of Jim's side quests was originally an erotic magazine. The PSP port of Rockman DASH, which was not released overseas, also changes the magazine to a comic book. The Japanese version enabled players to kick non-aggressive dogs as well as shoot birds out of the sky. This was removed in the North American version, likely due to cultural differences.
The Japan-exclusive Rockman DASH Adventure Guidebook revealed information about the design for the servbots that came as a surprise to nobody. They were, in fact, inspired by LEGO characters. The passage also mentions that early on, the servbots were planned to remove their heads and place them on different bodies and vehicles. Capcom developed a bit of an affinity for the servbots and included references to them in many other games. In fact, when Capcom recruits new graphic artists, part of their training is to create 3D servbot models. According to web planner Kineko Akawa, despite the servbot's seemingly simplistic design, getting their facial features and bodily proportions right is actually quite hard.
The tragic news of Capcom pulling the plug on Mega Man Legends 3 in 2011 was especially hard on gamers, as it had been over a decade since the debut of Mega Man Legends 2. However, unknown to many fans in the West, the series had a game released exclusively in Japan as recent as 2008. It was a surprisingly full-featured mobile game starring Mega Man, Roll, and the Bonds. The title roughly translates to Rockman DASH Great Adventure on 5 Islands, and the storyline takes place between Legends 1 and 2. Initial downloads began with 2 islands, and the other 3 were released later as downloadable content.
The long-awaited digital re-releases of the first 2 Legends games on the PlayStation Network were thought to be impossible for many years. Capcom told fans they were no longer legally allowed to distribute Mega Man Legends without extra negotiation with additional license holders, all because of a few minor details in the game. The infringing content in question included the soda machines, which used imagery from the real-life brand Orinomen Sea energy drinks, and the YAG building in Uptown, which depicted the logo of the Yoyogi Animation Gakuen, an actual Japanese animation school. During an Ask Capcom livestream, corporate officer Christian Svensson explained that Capcom has a reoccurring issue with games released prior to the year 2000. This was because license contracts at that time didn't consider that games might be re-released in the future. One way to get around this would be to simply change the graphics, but Sony has a strict rule against changing the content of PS1 classics. Despite repeatedly denying that a re-release would ever see the light of day, Capcom eventually worked out the legal details thanks to a few dedicated employees. The game was released digitally for the first time in 2015. Its price was higher than most PS1 classics, likely because of the legal hurdles, but Capcom pointed out that $9.99 was much less than the going rate of used physical copies online. Don't forget to subscribe to Did You Know Gaming for more facts and trivia. And if you like this video, consider sharing it with a friend. And if you're a fan of Mega Man, click the annotation on screen to watch the Did You Know Gaming video on the franchise.
Hi, I'm Dumpstat.
And I'm Inagata Davida. Say, Dumpstat, do you like gameplay commentary videos?
Absolutely do. Do we have any of that we can link to these people?
Yeah, how about Mega Man Legends? What a coincidence.
Let's do that. Hey, guys, dingle this dangle.